An ancient map drawn in 1513 accurately showing Antarctica's coastline. Antarctica, which humans wouldn't discover for another 300 years. Nobody knows how it got there. 8,000 life-size warriors buried underground, each with a unique face, built for an emperor who believed they'd protect him in the afterlife. The technology to build them shouldn't have existed. The sheer scale of it still doesn't make sense. Ancient Sumerian texts describing beings who came from the sky, genetically engineered humanity, and ruled Earth for thousands of years before disappearing. These aren't fringe conspiracy theories whispered on the internet. These are documented historical records, physical artifacts, and real archaeological findings that serious academics have spent careers arguing over, with absolutely nothing to show for it. 10 mysteries, 0 satisfying answers, and at least one that will make you quietly question everything you think you know about human history. Number 10. The disappearance of the Roanoke colony. England's first American colony. 115 settlers, a fresh start in the New World. Governor John White leaves in 1587 for a supply run. Straightforward errand, grab supplies, come back, everyone's happy. This one just happens to take 3 years because England and Spain picked that exact moment to go to war. And the colonists, sitting alone in a forest in America, were genuinely the last thing on anybody's mind. White finally sails back in 1590, 3 years late, probably rehearsing his apology the entire voyage. He arrives to a settlement that looks like everyone stepped out for a walk and forgot to come back. Houses standing, fires cold, dishes on plates. A child's shoe in the mud. No bodies, no graves, no blood, not even a strongly worded note. Just one word carved deeply into a wooden post, not scratched nervously, carved deliberately, like someone had time and wanted it found centuries later. Croatoan. A nearby island, a nearby tribe, a word that sounds like an answer but functions like a shrug. Archaeologists have been digging in the Croatoan territory since 1998. They keep finding English artifacts buried deep underground, but no remains, no records, no 115 people. Just stuff left behind, like the world's worst moving day. And nobody, not historians, not scientists, not the people who've dedicated careers to this, can explain what happened between dinner and the next morning. Which brings us to 9 hikers who found exactly what they were looking for, and really wish they hadn't. Number 9. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. 9 experienced hikers head into the Ural Mountains in January 1915. Trained, prepared, the kind of people who would do this for fun, which already tells you something about their judgment. They never come back. Rescue teams find the tent sliced open from the inside. Everyone fled into minus 30-degree weather wearing almost nothing. No shoes, no coats. February, Russia. Whatever scared them out of that tent was scarier than freezing to death, and it gets worse. 6 died from hypothermia. Fine, tragic, explainable. But 3 others had injuries that made no sense. Crushed ribs, a fractured skull. Internal damage so severe that Soviet investigators compared it to a car crash. No external wounds, no footprints of anyone else. One woman was missing her tongue. The Soviet government classified the files, sealed the area for 3 years, and officially concluded the deaths were caused by, and this is a direct quote, an unknown compelling force. They didn't know. They just wrote that down and closed the folder. 9 hikers, no explanation, a government that looked at the evidence and decided ignorance was the cleaner option. So now you're left with a different question. What do you see that makes freezing to death feel like the better option? And whatever it was, at least they had something to run from, because the next one didn't. Number 8, the vanishing of Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart decides in 1937 to fly around the entire world. Not across it, around it. At the equator, the longest possible route. Because apparently just being the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic wasn't enough. She gets 22,000 miles in, nearly done. One last stretch over the Pacific, Howland Island, a tiny strip of land in the middle of the biggest ocean on Earth, the kind of island you can miss on a good day with perfect visibility. July 22nd, 1937, her last transmission comes in broken, frustrated, clearly lost. We are running on line north and south. Then nothing. The U.S. Navy launches the largest search in its history at that point. 4,000 people, 9 ships, 102 aircraft. Spent $4 million in 1937 money looking for one plane. They find nothing. There was no wreckage, no signal, and no Amelia. In 2019, researchers found a bone fragment on a remote island called Nikamororo. DNA testing inconclusive. A jar of freckle cream nearby, possibly hers, possibly not. The most famous navigator in the world couldn't find a 2-mile-long island, and nobody's found her since. And sometimes the scariest mysteries don't happen far away, they happen right in the middle of a city. Number 7, Jack the Ripper. It's London, 1888. Whitechapel, the part of the city that even other poor people felt sorry for. 5 women are murdered between August and November, all within a square mile, all with surgical precision that made investigators deeply uncomfortable about who they were looking for. A doctor, a butcher, someone with a knife and enough knowledge to use it correctly. The killings stop as suddenly as they started. No arrest was made, no trial or explanation. But what makes this case genuinely different? The letters. Whoever did this wrote to the police, taunting them. One letter arrived with a half-preserved human kidney inside and a note saying he'd fried and eaten the other half. He rated it, said it was good. Scotland Yard investigated over 300 suspects. 300. They had names, motives, theories. A Polish barber, a royal physician, a failed lawyer, a literal prince. Nobody was ever charged. Over 130 years later, criminologists, historians, and DNA specialists are still arguing, still publishing books, still pointing fingers at different people. Jack the Ripper terrorized an entire city, outsmarted Victorian London's best detectives, and then just stopped. Like he had somewhere better to be. Or maybe sometimes people don't disappear, entire civilizations do. Number 6, the lost city of Atlantis. Plato writes about Atlantis in 360 BC. A powerful advanced civilization, beautiful architecture, superior technology ruled the ocean. Then in a single day and night, gone. Swallowed by the sea as punishment for becoming too powerful, too arrogant, too convinced of their own greatness. Plato described it so specifically. The circular city, the golden temples, the naval empire larger than Rome. Coordinates placing it beyond the Strait of Gibraltar in the Atlantic Ocean. Here's the problem: nobody can find it. Archaeologists have searched the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Azores, the Canary Islands, the Sahara Desert, yes, the desert, and the coast of Antarctica. Someone genuinely looked for Atlantis under Antarctica and wrote a serious academic paper about it. The leading theory is that Plato made the whole thing up as a philosophical metaphor about the dangers of greed, which would make Atlantis history's most successful work of fiction, still actively fooling people 2,400 years later. But then explains the underwater ruins discovered off the coast of Cuba in 2001. Geometric structures, perfectly symmetrical, 600 meters below the surface. Still unexcavated, still unexplained. Plato either invented the greatest cautionary tale in history, or accidentally told the truth. And if an entire city can disappear into the ocean, a single ship going missing should be easy, right? Number 5, the ghost ship Mary Celeste. December 1872, a British ship spots a vessel drifting silently in the Atlantic. Sails partially set, nobody steering. They call out. Nothing. They board it, and this is where it gets strange. The ship is completely fine. No damage, no fire, no signs of struggle. Cargo untouched. 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol just sitting there. Which immediately tells you something went very wrong. Because if you're abandoning a ship voluntarily and there's 1,700 barrels of alcohol available, you are absolutely taking some of it with you. That's not even a debate. Hot food still on the table, captain's logbook open, last entry completely routine. A child's toy arranged neatly on the bed. Crew's belongings packed in their cabins like they'd stepped out for air. 10 people, captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, 7 crew members, all gone. The lifeboat was missing. That's it. That's the only clue 10 people left behind. 1 lifeboat, open Atlantic, no destination logged, never found. The Mary Celeste kept getting resold after this. New owners, fresh starts, streak of terrible luck following it everywhere. Eventually, its last owner deliberately sank it for insurance money. The ship survived everything except humans. Which brings us to something that didn't disappear, something that, according to ancient records, was here long before us and may have never left. Number 4, the Anunnaki. Ancient Sumeria, 5,000 years ago, the oldest civilization in recorded history sits down and writes about gods who came from the sky. Not metaphor gods, not the sun god is angry gods with spaceships. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens, taught humans agriculture, architecture, mathematics, astronomy, and then just left. Their texts describe these beings in specific detail, what they looked like, what they wore, how they traveled, with the kind of accuracy that makes historians either very interested or very uncomfortable. Here's the genuinely strange part. Humanity spent 200,000 years doing almost nothing, living in caves, eating whatever didn't eat us. Then suddenly, 5,000 years ago, civilization just explodes. Writing, cities, law, medicine, all at once. Just nothing, 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 then everything. Historians call it the Sumerian civilization. The ancient texts call it a hand up from somewhere else. In 1976, scholar Zachariah Stitchin translates the Sumerian tablets directly and concludes the Anunnaki weren't gods. They were extraterrestrials mining gold. Nobody's officially agreed with him, nobody's officially proven him wrong either. Then comes an emperor who didn't wait for gods to protect him. He built his own army and then buried them all underground for 2,000 years. Number 3, the Terracotta Army. It's China, 1974. A farmer is digging a well. Normal Tuesday. Just a man, a shovel, and a hole that needed to be deeper. He hits something hard, brushes it off, finds a face staring back at him. Not a skull, a statue. Life-sized, fully armored, expression so detailed you could tell it was having a worse day than him. He'd accidentally dug into the private burial army of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor. A man so afraid of dying that he spent 38 years and 700,000 workers building himself a tomb the size of a small city. 8,000 clay soldiers, each one with a unique face, unique hairstyle, unique expression, no two identical, which means someone sat down and individually sculpted 8,000 different human faces for a dead man's underground army. That's dedication. That's also a completely unhinged work order. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. The emperor's actual tomb, the main chamber, has never been opened. Ancient Chinese texts describe rivers of liquid mercury flowing through it, booby traps, entire palaces built underground. Modern scientists scan the ground above it. The mercury readings come back off the charts. It's all still in there, untouched, unexcavated, unopened. An entire underground palace, sealed for 2,000 years. Nobody's gone in because nobody's entirely sure they'd come back out. Then comes a map that shouldn't exist, drawn by a man who couldn't have known what he was drawing in 1513. Number 2, the Piri Reis map. Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis sits down and draws a map in 1513. Normal thing for an admiral to do, except this map shows the coastline of Antarctica. Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1818. That's not a typo. The map is drawn 300 years before anyone officially finds the continent. With the correct coordinates, the correct coastline shape, the correct position relative to South America. Piri Reis writes down in the margins explaining he compiled it from older source maps, maps he'd collected, maps that no longer exist. Which raises one very straightforward question nobody has a comfortable answer to. Where did the source maps come from? It gets worse. The Antarctic coastline on the map shows the continent without ice, the way it looks beneath the ice sheet. Scientists didn't confirm what Antarctica actually looks like under all that ice until 1958, using modern seismic surveys. Piri Reis apparently had that information in 1513 from maps that are now gone, that were drawn by someone we can't identify, who apparently visited a continent that nobody officially knew existed and drew it correctly. Historians call it an interesting coincidence. The interesting coincidence has been sitting in the Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul since 1929, quietly making everyone uncomfortable. And this brings us to the biggest, loudest, most violent mystery on this list, something so massive it flattened an entire forest, and still nobody agrees on what it was. Number 1, the Tunguska event. It's Siberia, June 30th, 1908, 7:17 a.m. Something explodes in the sky above a remote forest. Not a small explosion. That was loud explosion, an explosion 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The kind of explosion that flattens 2,000 square miles of forest, 80 million trees, all pointing outward from a single point, knocked flat like someone dropped the world's angriest hairdryer from space. The shockwave circles the entire Earth, twice. People 60 kilometers away are thrown off their feet. Windows shatter 400 miles out. The night sky glows so bright across Europe that people in London are reading newspapers outside at midnight in London. And it's 1908, and nobody particularly wanted to go to Siberia. Scientists finally arrive in 1927. They expect a crater, a massive, obvious, this is where it hit crater. There isn't one. No crater, no meteorite fragments, no material evidence of what caused the largest impact event in recorded human history. Just 80 million fallen trees, all pointing away from the same empty spot in the sky. Whatever hit us that morning either vaporized completely on impact or never actually touched the ground. And to this day, no telescope, no satellite, no scientific instrument has ever conclusively identified what it was. The biggest explosion in modern human history. No culprit or evidence, just a forest that's still growing back. And that's 10 mysteries that humanity, combined with all our technology, all our satellites, all our PhDs, all our government budgets, has completely failed to explain. We landed on the moon. We mapped the human genome. We invented a machine that argues with us about recipes. And we still don't know where 115 people went in 1587. If these kept you up at night, you're not alone. Drop a comment which one scared you the most, and subscribe, because next time, it gets worse.